Well, finally in 2022, all of these things that we have been saying on this channel for now almost 2.5 years are finally being recognized by the establishment.
And just in case you feel like it's just Cardin being super biased about this, read the article. Look at who is talking about this, and it's people from like Mormon leaks.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Cardin Ellis. The show is Midnight Mormons. We're joined by Kwaku L. Barad Whitbeck, and none other than Peggy Fletcher Stack, who just wrote an article, I Told You So. I Told You So. You heard it here a year ago before we were smeared by John Dehlin that he is straight up home wrecking for profit. And now finally, a year later, the Salt Lake Tribune saw fit to call into question what is a 3-year-old tax return. But 3 years ago, the $236,000 a year that John Dehlin is making, destroying your faith, separating you from your ancestry, and making you hate your faith community.
And just in case you feel like it's just Cardin being super biased about this, read the article. Look at who is talking about this, and it's people from like Mormon leaks. It's people like
Ethan
Kate
Dodge
Kelly
and Ryan McKnight, who are not fans of the LDS Church at all, and are both ex-members.
They're probably not fans of us.
No. And they're like, yeah, no, Dylan's bad. Kate Kelly, yeah, no, Dylan's bad.
Yeah, and so you want to dive in really fast with the details on this? I hate talking about John Dehlin, man. It just cankers my soul. But I got to tell you, Peggy Fletcher Stack, man, she's not in the bag for the church. And I
think it's crazy.
She brings up some good points, man.
Yeah, I mean, look at the number of articles that she's written that like questions things about the church. She's written stuff that makes me mad, you know. And
she was a hero to the anti-Mormon community for a straight like decade until like one church leader said something like, "Oh, I know your aunt."
What will you do in your presidency to bring women, people of color, and international members into decision-making for the church?
That's a good question, Peg. I hope I can be forgiven if I say I have a special place in my heart for you. I know your mother. I know your father. I know all 4 of your grandparents.
You know what I'm saying? And because there was some remote connection in Salt Lake City to some family member that she knew, they're like, she must be horrible. But anyway, Peggy Fletcher Stack.
And now there are Ex-Mos calling her a shill for the church because she's writing these pieces about John Dehlin.
About the prophet of ex-Mormon media.
Yeah, well, because according to the Bite model, all of anti-Mormonism is a psycho cult.
Not all of the people who have left the church, again, just because we always get comments about this, the antis who are militantly against the church, not just anybody who has ever left the church.
Speak for yourself, Brad.
We got first and last names of 6 witches that are in our church.
I think everyone who's left is an evil Satanist.
And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now.
Bent on the destruction of the world.
You better look in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witch. You devil-worshiping Satanist witch.
And you've got their names and their addresses.
Break your spells. We break your curse. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you.
I've got your name. We even got an address for one of y'all.
You so much as cough wrong, and I'll expose you in front of everybody in this tent, you stinking witch.
Stinking witch.
I really hope
one of you was in my wife's Bible group.
2 of you in my wife's ladies' Bible study, and you know who you are, and we gonna ask you to get out.
Okay.
What's that guy's name? David Locke?
Greg Locke.
Greg Locke.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go over this really fast because this is a searing indictment of one John Dehlin. Serious accusations of lying about tax returns, claiming to be investigated by the government, the theocracy, as he called it, when apparently there's no record of that investigation. We know John Dehlin has faked at least 3 different hate crimes. He faked calling 911 on one Quacoel, yet when you call the cops in Salt Lake City, there is no evidence in any of the law enforcement organizations
and
of
the
any
only evidence
911
he gave
call.
was a screenshot that I was able to recreate within 1 minute.
Yeah. He faked that he was cyberbullied by the Mormon Church into losing his TikTok account, which was not true. And now apparently he's faked an audit by what he accused the government of having a member of the Attorney General's office as an active member of the church being somehow corrupt.
Because he had been critical, I think, of Sean Reyes, was it?
Yeah. So anyway,
and yeah.
So we're just gonna burn through this really fast. But holy smoke, here it goes. The main article says questions surrounding podcaster John Dehlin and the quest to build an ex-Mormon community, in which the author, Peggy Fletcher Stack, notes that as more and more members leave the Mormon Church, they want to find a place to go. And this 52-year-old psychologist, who she points out is not an actual practicing therapist because he was never able to get his license, but got a life coaching certificate you can print online, has been making some serious bank off of basically smearing the church. Bank to the tune of, quote, well above $200,000, ballooning his income some 700% from his inception 10 years ago. And we already know from the Rosebud forensic interview, a woman who claimed that John Dehlin abused her in some of the most heinous ways possible. That was actually the wrong. That was the wrong
this deer.
The wrong YouTube video. You got a little picture of a deer right there. You know what I'm saying? But as we know from the Rosebud forensic interview, that he specifically formed his 501c3 in Arizona because it's the only state that allows you to have one person on your board of directors, and he wanted to basically save all of the money from his nonprofit that functions like a for-profit organization for himself. I mean, it's like L. Ron Hubbard level stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I like L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay.
John Dehlin does not have as much swag as L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay. Depends on how you define that swag. But anyway.
Does John Dehlin have a private navy?
Actually kind of does. The ex-Mormon subreddit minions that'll go out and cyberbully everybody.
Bold of you to think any of them could get on a boat.
Yeah.
Without it sinking. I'm kidding.
Oh!
So anyway, let's just go over. What are some details that struck you? What were some details that struck you guys?
Scroll down to the portion that says, "What about women?"
Oh, geez, yeah.
On the first article, the main article.
Got it.
So this is actually not the women portion. Scroll up from it just a little bit. The 3 paragraphs before.
Okay.
So where it says, this is people who are like not friends of the church, but they're talking about the people who are leaving the church and what's happening to them. This is Ethan Dodge, and he says people are raw emotionally and lost in a lot of ways with their worldview flipped upside down. And then goes on, he comes across as someone who has all the answers and then starts asking for money. People will give John money out of gratitude, but eventually fall out of love with him. His business model thrives on drama, Dodge said. The more drama he can drum up, the more podcast downloads and YouTube hits he will get. Now, it goes on, many former believers will state that Dehlin has done so much good, he doesn't deserve any criticism, Dodge added. But that's exactly the same tactic the LDS Church applies to general authorities, right?
Okay.
And so this guy who views the church as a cult...
Mistaken members of the church will apply to general authorities.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, okay.
He's seeing that in the ex-Mormon community, right? In this anti-Mormon community in particular that is supportive of John Dehlin, to the tune of when they talk about what happened here, everyone just comes to his defense and says, oh, well, he's just a person and he can do whatever he wants. And like, so you're going to ignore the testimony of this woman who has like
these women.
These women,
I
yeah.
mean, it's 13 women that have signed an online statement run by the principal activist lawyer that's trying to get the ERA passed state assembly by state assembly until she goes all the way to Congress. This is not some psychopath with a blog. We're talking like a legitimate congressional level lawyer here saying, I'm signing this statement that this person has sexually abused women, financially abused women, emotionally abused women, and according to Rosebud herself, potentially physically abused women.
I think the most important thing that she says, and she says it very carefully here, that he takes advantage of vulnerable people in crisis who are in legitimate need of help and community. Right?
Yeah. Which is the worst kind of predatory.
No, all these people are lying. John Dehlin's never done anything bad in his life, and he also apologized, but he didn't do it.
Oh, sorry. Quicker, did you just get programmed by a Ex-Mormon subreddit thread?
No, look.
What stuck out to you?
Ad hominem. Ad hominem.
There it
Oh,
is.
you're just attacking him. You know his arguments. Treasure seeking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I find it really interesting what Kate Kelly said. Like, John has used our talents, time, movements, and reputations to bolster his brand and enrich himself. And she says, when women come forward with critiques of his behavior or allegations of wrongdoing, he retaliates by lashing out at them and attempting to publicly discredit them.
Which he's done with us.
Yep.
With us. I mean, entire podcast dedicating to telling people they need to bear their testimonies of him in response to us saying you're home wrecking for profit.
Do you know why, though? The only people who go after John relentlessly and who have not been intimidated into silence are us and Kate Kelly and Rosebud. And why? Because everyone else is still a member of his church. We're not.
Or
we've
they're
never
just
joined his church,
feckless boomers.
and they left his church. We don't. He doesn't have the manipulation over us, so we can see the BS. But these people can't
scroll
see the
up.
BS.
Look at him speaking by this podium that looks like a fireside almost. You know?
Yeah, it's true.
Like he's taken the same model and
They have testimony meetings. Have you ever been to one of these things? They
actually
literally get up and talk about their testimony as an ex-Mormon.
The articles talk about this, how there's this weird anti-testimony meeting phenomenon that's happening.
I thank all of the many listeners and viewers who were willing to share their testimonies of how Mormon Stories and CES Letter have been helpful to their families.
And how it's just like a strange thing that they bring from the LDS faith and then have this opposite of it within it, right?
Dude, you know he's all about the cash, so we just buy like tickets to the next one? Just go and like listen in on the testimony meeting?
I don't know,
I'm sending
man.
this to you right now.
What'd you say?
I'm sending this to you right now.
Okay, you're throwing it up on the Discord, which what did you call? The weird gamer app?
Yeah, the Nerd Gamer app.
The Nerd Gamer app. Okay.
That's an accurate description of what Discord is.
I'm receiving said message on the Nerd Gamer app. Am I going to regret clicking on this, Kwaku? Am I going to regret clicking on this?
No, you're not. I'm sending both right now. Okay.
Okay.
Again, more lies and doing poor copies. John Dehlin's entire Thrive conference is plagiarized from the Thrive conference that already existed in Vegas about how to make money. I'm not even kidding.
Wait, these are different companies?
Yes.
That is the same logo. There's
my gosh.
There's like one difference. And then what?
Yeah, nobody knows this.
That is
Which one is
worse
John
than
Dehlin's?
Joe
The
Biden's
yellow one right here.
plagiarism.
This the Thrive Project from the Mormon Stories podcast. He started the Thrive Foundation, Thrive Beyond Religion, after Thrive Make Money Matter. He plagiarized the logo and the name of another conference that already existed, which was about money. And it was about how do I make a lot of money fast.
So this Thrive Make Money Matter came first.
Yes.
Before John Dehlin decided to create Thrive as the anti-Mormon Ex-Mormon project.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. See, I saw a meme pop up on my feed one day where there was two hats right next to each other that were Thrive hats, and they had both stolen that R. See that creative R and that creative E where there's no backbone to the E? Oh my gosh.
But the E is slightly different.
And somebody said, can we not talk about this copyright violation, please? And it was like an ex-Mormon saying, wait a second, this is total plagiarism. And they got lambasted. They got lambasted for bringing up the obvious. I thought it was a joke.
No, this is real. The
Oh
Thrive
my
conference in
gosh.
Vegas has existed for. So again, so by the way, you got plagiarism, you got adultery, you've got sexual harassment toward women, you have a persecution complex, and you have a cult-like personality. All the things they blamed on Joseph Smith, John Dehlin is guilty of.
Oh,
Dude, this is bad, man. This is
And now,
real
here's what
bad.
By the way, what he's going to say is that I'm a liar. He's going, Kwaku is just lying as a typical Mormon apologetic. No, bro, you copied the other conference. You are such an uncreative lying plagiarist. You can't even come. Fine, keep the name. Get a different logo. You couldn't even do that. You couldn't even get a different logo.
well, to be fair, there is one line different in the E.
Yes, there's one line different. And here's how we know he's home wrecking for profit. He had to have seen the Thrive conference before he made his Thrive. And the Thrive conference he watched is about how do you make money fast. And then he watches it and boom, John Dehlin starts to make money fast.
It makes me think about when we first published the CES letter response videos and how his first reaction to that was how excited he was for the additional donations that would be coming in. You know?
Oh,
like
my
how he
gosh,
first
yeah.
started talking about how it was going to be about money.
I do this because I care. I care about other people, especially vulnerable women. Vulnerable women who may not be that attracted to their wives anymore, who would like to maybe join me for a nice coffee somewhere far away and dark. And maybe just to help you through your trauma and therapy, I could take off your.
Oh my gosh! What the heck?
That's my
Kwaku.
John Dehlin.
What?
Well, that's Rosebud's claim, basically.
I was convinced to do that then.
And she has a forensic testimony that she's committed to on it. So, I mean.
I told him not to record it.
It's so bad.
I, of course, was just horrified.
It's what blows my mind is how this cat. Look at this. Kudos to the Salt Lake Tribune, who's always trying to like legitimize and put in print people's the weirdest claims against the church. They have written articles on, trying to show they're doing their due diligence, right? Mm-hmm. But this article finally in 2022. All of these things that we have been saying on this channel for now almost 2.5 years are finally being recognized by the establishment. Okay. It's just like in cyberspace, how they said like, oh no, there's this guy named Jeffrey Epstein and he's literally facilitating the trafficking of other humans that are not of age to wealthy elites and royalty around the world. Oh, you're just a hater. No, we actually got like pictures and firsthand testimony, but nobody wants to put it out on their news outlets because they're afraid of the royalty and the elites. But it's real. Next thing you know, fast forward 2 years, Epstein's finally arrested. It's all over. Everybody knows it's true. Okay. And Netflix is finally making a documentary about it, right?
And here's the thing about these articles. Peggy Fletcher Stack is not sitting there talking to us to get her information about this.
I didn't email her back last year.
Yeah.
I said, I won't talk to you because you're a journo. She does not like me.
And she is quoting throughout this all other people who are formerly Mormon, who are ex-Mormon.
James Patterson, who is the one who filed the IRS complaint, I've spoken with him on the phone. Yeah. He is not a fan of the Mormon Church.
Yeah, and I think
he didn't want to come on our show.
She has like
for fear of like, I don't want to be associated with anything pro-Mormon. However, I think John Dehlin should be like miles away from the term 501c3 nonprofit organization. Yeah.
There's like one church person that she quotes, and it's about church growth stuff because John Dehlin has a claim that he's pulling tons of people out of the church, basically. And she has this church person's response that basically says, no, that's not really what's happening. People are just vocal about it on social media when they leave, when really the church is growing pretty much just fine. There's like a very small, less than 1% leaving rate. But there's an interesting portion that I wanted to check at near the end of the first article, of the main article.
Okay, hit it.
Third from the bottom paragraph.
On questions around podcaster John Dehlin.
Scroll down to the very bottom.
The Utah-based faith continues not to just grow in numbers.
It is healthy and important.
Okay.
Because this is from another ex-Mo guy who is saying this thing at the bottom of the article.
Okay, cool.
Third,
wow, this is a really long article.
It is. Third from the bottom.
Okay.
So, it is healthy and important for ex-Mormons to speak with and engage with others to validate their experience and really understand it, Axford said. But simply being a former member is not a long-term useful community or primary identity to focus on. And that's something that we have talked about for a long time here.
Yeah.
That like being just an anti of something is not good for you. You know, that it's not sustainable. And here's a guy who's left the church who kind of agrees.
Yeah.
And that's really what John Dehlin is doing. And I think
profiting off of like the worst thing possible, losing your faith.
Home wrecker for profit.
So what blew my mind, man, isn't just the questions around the ethics of what he does, but the fact that finally, you know that movie V for Vendetta? The investigator always says, if there's one thing I've learned about governments is the most trustworthy record are their tax records. And I botched his English accent, right? But, you know, I mean, look at all of the hypocrisy in this. Let's go through this article. Mormon Stories podcaster John Dehlin makes $236K a year from his nonprofit. Is that too much? Okay. That is for profit. His organization literally is podcasting against the Mormon church and promoting mixed faith marriages, meaning I take one of them out of the church and then leverage the end and manipulate and weaponize the empathy of the other partner so that they have to get along with each other, meaning this person has to be able to spew their anti-Mormon hatred all day long and this person has to listen to it. And if it ends up in a divorce, it's always the TBM's fault, the true believing member.
And he tells us that we're a cult all the time. And
he makes like more than the apostles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way more than the apostles.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get into.
$100,000 more.
Yeah.
At the least.
Yeah.
At the least.
At the least. So look at this right here. Yearly revenues are nearly $500,000, of which he's making basically over half of that. Or at least almost half of that. That's $250,000. And here's the huge hypocrisy. You remember our friend Natasha Helfer? Okay. She says, I'm comfortable, Helfer says, that the board has made decisions that are fair according to market value. When asked, is $250K or circa $250K excessive for a guy who criticizes church leaders for making $120K? And she says, oh no, based on fair market value, because once upon a time, a decade ago, he worked at Microsoft for a six-figure income. I'm sorry, Microsoft, when you want to talk market values, I don't know, providing the operating system that runs the power grid. Yeah, to me, that seems like those people might be worth, a six-figure income. But the dude who is literally causing divorces and profiting off of them, not as necessary. And by the way, what is the marketplace? He's the guy that invented the marketplace of profiting off of not misery.
That's true.
There's been people that have profited off human misery for a long time, but like this idea of creating faith crises that only you are qualified to counsel people through is a new industry.
It's for the best.
With your life coach license?
With your life coach license.
You misleadingly make people think you're an actual doctor. No, you have a doctorate in psychology, but you have a life coach license to teach.
And it's like, this article makes it clear he's not a licensed therapist.
Yeah, and the other thing is they also point out that he's basically created a board of directors of yes men who are loyal to him and view him as a prophet as well, because even the article says, I'm comfortable, Helfer says, that the board has made decisions that are fair according to market value. And Dehlin says that the Open Stories had, quote, generously set my salary at a fixed level. Generously? Oh, because boards are notorious for being generous with the money that they want to give.
When John was forming the 501c3, he was looking for a way to really make it a way that he could make money that wouldn't be compliant with IRS regulations. So his objective was never to have an empowered board, in that he incorporated in Arizona, because in Arizona, you only need one director as a 501c3, and that's the only state where that can be, because he didn't want to have an empowered board.
And Helfer's one of the people who threw Rosebud under the bus when she went on with Bill Reel and
listen to her comment.
RFM.
I'm comfortable that the board has made decisions that are fair according to market value. That is the most, like, church spokesman Eric Hawkins said. Like, that is a polished over corporate, because she knows, oh, I'm now on John's good side. There could be some money coming for me if I protect my profit. And both FIT and PHET.
Yeah, so Natasha Helfer, a sex therapist and motivational speaker who works with Dehlin, is a former member of the Open Stories Foundation board. The same board that now has like 3 of the 13 women that signed that open letter saying that John Dehlin abuses women.
No, but they were just crazy liars and bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying that he's dangerous, right?
Saying that he's a dangerous...
that they do not recommend anyone.
They're just jealous because they have crushes on him. That's legitimate what the Ex-Mormons are saying. Oh, they're just obsessed crazy girls who love John.
Yeah.
He's not Mick Jagger. You know what I'm saying? In the 70s. He's not Justin Bieber.
And
John Dehlin.
The thing that drives me crazy about the way that he operates things is he's sitting there telling people that their family members and the people that they love are cultists. And that the reason that they're having difficulties in their lives is because they were part of a cult. How do you expect people to have a solid relationship with their family members when you start telling them that everyone around them is a cultist?
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to hang out with my brother if my brother starts listening to this?
They used to call it seeding discord in like Shakespearean times.
Yeah.
And that's when they say, like, it's not contention that is of the devil. Sometimes you have to contend for the faith. Yeah. But the spirit of contention, people who purposefully, constantly seed contention, that is what is of the devil. And what blew my mind was, are you finished with your thought?
Almost.
Okay,
I've just had people try to tell us in comments, no, he doesn't really say that you guys are a cult. He tries to not say that. And he's like, and then someone else is like, no, I listen to both. He definitely implies it very heavily. Yeah. If not straight up says it all the time.
And constantly. He's literally, he says it constantly, implicitly. And then finally, this is what blew my mind. Just like he faked and lied about the 911 call on Kwaku.
I'm not finding anything.
And just like he faked and lied about the church banning his TikTok account and us being haters. I don't think this is real. I think this is an old meme that helped the process along. And just like he faked and lied, all that crap. This is what blew my mind. He claims, and I'll put it right here on your screen so that everybody can see it. He claims right here where my mouse is, quote, in several podcasts, he feared bias from Attorney General Sean Reyes when an audit was initiated, given some of his critiques of Utah's top prosecutor. Quote, we were audited by the theocracy, end quote, he quipped about Reyes and the state government in a December podcast. So in December, John Dehlin was claiming that religiously motivated and biased people in the Utah state government were auditing him. Okay, and that he gave them, quote, 3 years of financial information. However, another paragraph down, Peggy Fletcher Stack in the Salt Lake Tribune says, after months of inquiries by the Salt Lake Tribune and an open records request, we're talking FOIA here. I've done FOIA requests, all right? That's not an easy process, okay? You're dealing with the Freedom of Information Act here, all right? They're obligated to give you the information. So anyway, after months of inquiries by the Salt Lake Tribune and an open records request, the Utah Attorney General said it had no record of such an audit. So he faked the 911 call to the cops. Who knows if he faked what he claimed he said to the FBI? Who knows? We have no
record either way.
We have no record either way of that. But he faked the hate crime. He fakes getting called by prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? You saw that Facebook
Yeah, that
post
one was weird.
He fakes filing an FBI report.
He doesn't fake getting called by prostitutes. He fakes that it's his enemies.
No, that it's his enemies.
Trying to tempt him into something. What the heck?
We all get those messages.
It's a scam call.
It's a scam. And then now he's straight up faked getting audited by the state? Like, I don't know. It's like, at what point, I don't know what I'm more disappointed in. I'm not disappointed there's a charlatan. I'm disappointed that there's people that, like, in the name of science and reason and logic and big-brained analysis, say that they're leaving the Mormon church. And by leaving the Mormon church, they mean constantly ripping on their friends and family's face on Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But these people that are talking about all their big-brained reasons for leaving the church and why we're all small-brained Neanderthals don't see through this?
Yeah.
For years?
Because
we have to bring it up and we're thrown under the bus and we get canceled. Well, actually, not. You're only canceled if you give in to it. And we never gave in. And that flack was really just water on the duck's back. But it's like, we had to go through all that stress of his ex-Mormon subreddit minions getting sicked on us and getting sicked on everybody we knew and every business we worked at and so on and so forth.
And again, the ex-Mormon subreddit minions being the antis who are angry all the time, not anybody who's ever used that website.
So anyway, Mormonism is not a cult. Only its critics are. That's all I have to say. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up? My mind is blown. I'm glad it happened. And finally, the Salt Lake Tribune picked up with what we've been saying for 2 years. But
Bill Reel is a creep.
no,
Just make sure we can't forget that.
Throw that icing on top of the cake. I mean, the thing is, I'm just blown away by this with how much he pulls this back into making it about the church. And I think that's kind of what Kate Kelly was saying he tries to do, you know, where he tries to manipulate things into making himself a victim in these situations where he like is just getting a random like solicitous message and then says it's my enemies trying to tempt me into a scandal.
Yeah.
When it's literally just...
You bring up a good point though, Brad. How is John Dehlin going to make himself the victim of this Salt Lake Tribune article?
Oh, he already has.
Blowing the lid off of all of his treachery and home wrecking for profit. How?
He already has. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he won't even address it, whatever. He's getting all sorts of defense on the Ex-Mormon subreddit already.
Remember, it took the end of John Dehlin, that video that we marketed so beautifully with the bait and switch to get him to address. We have to push it out there and make it unavoidable. That's how these people work. You have to force them to acknowledge the fact that discovery has happened.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe that's the challenge. Like, all of you haters out there. Okay,
finally.
We're done now. But yeah, that is you know, you bring up a good point, Brad. I really think John Dehlin probably had to reconcile his mind and his heart with his actions that he took years ago. But I think now, really, the anti-Mormon, ex-Mormon community is going to have to reconcile a lot of the decisions that they have made and the things that they've chosen to believe. Now that it's settled journalistic science that this man profits off of misery, and you're part of that if you're propping him up. And there's really not much more of plausible deniability that you can have about his treatment of women, his treatment of finances, his ethics, his truthfulness with people that donate money after reading these two articles.
And I think the article does a really good job of saying, like, it's shady at best, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, and that's the thing, I don't think the article comes out and straight up says, like, John Dehlin should be in prison, you know? Like, it's not something condemning him so much as saying, like, look, here is what all of these other people have to say about him. Here is what is going on. I think people should read the articles. You know, they should just go through, read it for themselves, see what they think.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, they can hear what we think about it. They can hear what we've thought, but they can go look for themselves and see if they think that this is an ethical thing to be doing, if this is a good way to be making a profit out of a nonprofit. You know, it's kind of what it sounds like.
All right, dude. Let's go home, man. Everybody, if you haven't read the article, read it. It's all there. Links will be in the description. This is Midnight Mormons. We'll see you in the next program.